Hello Year 6, I hope you're all okay. For maths this week we're going to be recapping some of the learning that we've done so far this year. So each day I'm going to start off with a video introduction like this to remind you of how to solve the type of questions that we're looking at, and then there'll be an activity for you to complete on maths.co.uk. Now, Mr. Mann sent the logins for maths.co.uk on Friday, so everybody should have those now as well. Okay, today we're going to start off by looking at comparing and ordering fractions. Now, we did this before half term, so hopefully you can remember. The key to this is to find the common denominator each time. We have to make the denominators the same before we can compare the fractions. So the first one that I've got on the screen there, 1/4, and I need to compare it to 3/8. Well, I need to make the denominators the same. So hopefully you can spot I can make this fraction, 1/4, I can make it have a denominator of 8 by timesing the bottom by 2 and timesing the numerator by 2 as well. So then I'm going to write it out again as 2/8 compared to 3/8. Hopefully you can see 3/8 is the bigger fraction, so I need to put in my greater than symbol facing that way. Remember, the question asked me to compare those original fractions, so then I need to write out the original fractions again with that correct symbol in the right place. So 3/8 is greater than 1/4. And I write it out like that. Okay. Next, I'm going to look at ordering fractions. It's exactly the same principle. Remember, we've got to find the common denominator and then we can order them. So looking at these fractions here, I want to go for the common denominator of 9. So I need to times this fraction, I need to times 3 by 3 to give me 9 on the bottom, which means I've got to times it by 3 on the top. So 1 times 3 gives me a numerator of 3. 3 times 3 on the bottom gives me a denominator of 9. So I've got 3 9s. I need to do the same with this fraction. Times it by 3 on the bottom, times it by 3 on the top, which gives me 6 9s. And this fraction is already out of 9, so I can just copy it out. Right, now I need to order those fractions. So which one is my smallest fraction? I've got 3 9s, 4 9s, or 6 9s. Well, 3 9s is the smallest, so I'm just going to write a little 1 there. That's my smallest one. Second smallest is 4 9s. And my third smallest is 6 9s. So then I need to write out the original fractions, so that was these fractions, in the correct order. So my smallest one was a third. My second smallest one was 4 9s. And my third smallest fraction was 2/3. So I have ordered those fractions from smallest to largest. Okay, now I'd like you to log into your maths.co.uk account, and on there you will find some questions. So if you go into maths.co.uk and log in, you will see there is a test name that says compare and order fractions. And underneath test status, it will say begin test. Now on the screen here it says resume test because I've already been into this test, but if you click begin test, and then you will see some questions. You've got 15 questions to do. For now, I would just like you to pause the video and have a go at the first 4 questions on maths.co.uk. Then if you come back to the video and watch the next part. Okay, hopefully you've managed to do those first 4 questions. The remainder of the questions are a little bit trickier. So now I'm just going to show you how we can solve the remainder of those questions. So here again, I've got 2 fractions that I need to compare. Now, the reason this is a bit different is because I can't just choose the biggest denominator and make the fractions out have that denominator. Because here, my biggest denominator is 5, but 4 doesn't go into 5. So I've still got to find a common denominator, but I'm going to have to go a bit bigger this time. So I need to make the denominator for both of these fractions the same. 5 doesn't work. What about making it 10? Would that work? Does 4 go into 10? Hopefully you realise it doesn't. So next, thinking about my multiples of 5, 15, would that work? Does 4 go into 15? It doesn't, does it? So how about 20 then? Does 4 go into 20? It does. So I'm going to make my denominators for both of these fractions 20. So to get from 5 to 20, I've got to times by 4 on the bottom. If I times by 4 on the bottom, I have to times by 4 on the top as well. So I've done 5 times 4 on the bottom, which gave me 20. But now on the top, I need to do 4 times 4, which gives me 16. To get from 4 to 20, I've got to times by 5. So if I'm timesing by 5 on the bottom, I've got to times by 5 on the top. So 3 times 5 gives me 15. Now I can compare the fractions. Which is the largest one? Well, 16 20ths is bigger than 15 20ths. So writing out my original fraction, I know that 4/5 is greater than 3/4. I'm just going to show you that again with one more example. So this time I've got 3/5 and 4/6. So I need to find a times table a number that is in both the 5 times table and in the 6 times table. If you need to, you could write out your 5 times table and your 6 times table to help you out. So lots of you know your times tables very well, and you've probably spotted that 30 is in both the 5 times table and the 6 times table. So here I could go for a denominator of 30. So what do I have to times 5 by to give me that denominator of 30? Well, I've got to times it by 6. What do I times the 3 by to give me, I've times 5 by 6, so I have to times the top by 6 as well. So 3 times 6 gives me 18. What do I times 6 by to give me a denominator of 30? I've got to times it by 5. If I've times by 5 on the bottom, I have to times by 5 on the top. So 4 times 5 on the top gives me 20. So 20/30 is greater than 18/30. So writing out my original fraction, 3/5, copying out the symbol, so we know that 4/6 is greater than 3/5. Okay, so if you go back to maths.co.uk now, and if you try to have a go at questions 5 to 15, you will find that those questions, you have to use the method that I've just showed you. So this first question here, question 5, we've got denominators of 5 and 6. So you're going to need to use that common denominator of 30 for that question. Okay, year 6, have a go. Remember, if you're struggling, you can log into the chat later on.